Hello and welcome everybody to Everyone Deserves a Chance. This is a podcast for regular people like me and you. And we are here today with a special person. Her name is Migena Agaray, and she's Global Focus Connector, right? Business marketer, founder and CEO at Eagle MALC, a consulting firm focusing on business solutions. She's a 10X certified mentor, and I'm going to come back to that. A TV host, an inspirational public speaker, and best-selling author. Migena, I'm going to give it to you because the best way for an introduction is actually from the speaker. Why don't you tell us more about yourself? And thank you for coming in today.
Hello. Am I allowed to speak now?
Absolutely, 100%, yes.
There's so many rules out there. And of course, as a rule breaker, I just went for it. So good to be here, Silvius. You're awesome. It's an honor to provide value to your audience. And who Migena is, I was born and raised in Albania. I always love to lead with the origin. I always love going back to the basics, to the base. I moved to New York City 20 years ago. And for the first 18, almost 19 years of my life here in the country, it has been working from 3 jobs to 2 jobs and going to school to 1 full-time job, double the hours. So it felt like 10 jobs. And then fast forward 2021, at the end of the year, I decided to pause, not stop, pause, and speak it out loud to a friend of mine who was like terrified that I was about to quit my job, not knowing where the income would be coming from come January 1st, 2022. And these are the exact words I said to him. Watch me where I take life. Life is no longer taking me. Because pretty much I realized that I had placed myself in house arrest for 18 years, that I was a prisoner. I thought I was doing great, that I had the freedom, that I was making 6 figures, that wearing nice suits, playing golf, raising for different charities, living in the best city in the world. I still am a big believer of that. New York is one of the best cities in the world. I thought this is it. And then little did I know that I would end up at a real estate summit, which I call it the real estate summit of 2021 at a Grant Cardone event, where within the 3 days that I'm participating, interacting and networking with everyone that was there, because pretty much I love to network just like you, Silvius, like with anyone I can meet, I realized how little I had accomplished. And that's how my journey this year and a half has shifted, I would say, 360. It's not even in 180. I am not a startup. I started a long time ago. I would never, ever call myself a startup. However, my journey has shifted. And I pretty much owe it to every single person that I met at that summit. And of course, Grant for hosting that space, because their shares made it happen for me in a way. Because here I am thinking, what does it even mean to have multiple exit? I don't know what that is. Never heard that. What does it mean to live passively? This is so foreign to me. And I speak 5 languages, like literally I speak 5 languages, but here we are communicating in the English language, and I couldn't understand all this lingo of living passively, owning this many units, and you name it. And the list and the vocabulary kept growing and growing to the point where I sat on that chair, feeling disappointed, feeling that I was disrespecting my family, their sacrifices, disrespecting Migena, my sacrifices for living in this country, and thinking and believing that I was doing a good job, to realizing that I was not doing as much as I should, that I felt a little selfish even. But at the same time, I felt this sign of happiness, because I realized, like, it was a moment where I realized that I feel happy because I'm actually now self-aware. And that's how I was like, There's nothing that can stop me because I see person A, B, C, D, E. They're now in my network. I have to give this a shot because what's the worst that can happen? I was with no legal status, spoke no English 20 years ago, survived on $7 an hour. I could do it all over again if this new and improved version of Migena, let's call it 2.2 or 2.1, failed. But you know what? Let me fail forward because failure, it's okay. I'm okay with that because there's lessons, because you either win or learn, you never lose. So to me, it was like, let's go, let's get this done. And I'll allow you to ask another question before I continue and talk your ears off for another God
Oh,
knows
it's
how.
great that you put it this way because some of the people are really new into the development space, and the fact that you went to a conference, it's the beginning of a huge journey. Although it started 20 years ago, because you travel from a different country here. For some people, there is no age limit or time frame. I think everybody has a realization at some point, and it's more just like you said. That was one of my follow-up questions. So what was it that triggered the event? So for you, was the change that sparked everything pretty much was this event, this live event, and the
It
fact
was,
that you met.
I apologize, please complete
Oh,
your. For me, what made it happen for me were the success stories and the failed stories. In a nutshell, a person standing up, grabbing the mic, sharing the journey from point D to F to Z to you name it, because not all stories began with A through Z because it will take forever. So that's what made it for me. And that's when I, as Migena, decided to give myself full permission to think bigger, to go big faster, and of course to admit to my mother that she is always right, because moms are always right even when they're wrong. They're always right. And she's always been that mentor in my life, encouraging me, supporting me 100%. And so is my dad and my brother, but my special connection with my mom and her vision for me and for my brother. I admitted to her that she has been right this entire time and I've been wrong, that I've been numb, that in a way I have not confronted my gifts, that I have not been fair to them, that I have not honored them. And it went back to all the success stories shared at that summit. And I am not saying that because it was a grand event, that's what happened. What I'm trying to say is get up, dress up, show up at any event that you can show. Even if you feel that you don't know any person in that space, even if you feel that's a foreign space for you when it comes to the industry, just show up because chances are you will be inspired. And this is why I continue now to raise my hand and appear in as many podcasts as possible. It's because the power of storytelling, what that can do to someone that's listening or to the many, it's incredible. And because those people all, as a unit, as a collective, contributed a little bit more to my decision making, I also want to pay it forward by being that person for everyone else who has already started the journey, but still deciding, or it has not even crossed their minds because to them seems very far and unreachable. And this is why I'm so passionate about this.
You're so involved in so many groups and so many projects that pretty much, I said it earlier, like every WhatsApp channel that I go for or every group that I join, I see Migena in there. So I'm like, okay, this is a good club because Migena. So if you became a vetting person for me, every time I follow through, I realize that you are walking the walk and you are doing everything that you said you're doing. Now, quick question. I want to go back to the reference point. some people, they read a book like Rich Dad Poor Dad is one of the most read books, I think, in the United States that sparked the interest in real estate for so many entrepreneurs that I've met throughout the years. But for you, what was it that got you to that event? Because I understand that the event was a catalyst in your development, but how did you end up there?
I love this question. For anyone who's listening, if you have not heard of a social app called Clubhouse, I highly recommend you sign up. I am a Clubhouse loyalist. I signed up January 2021, so I'm going now on 2.5 years. As I'm working as a director of business development for a billion-dollar company in the Class A commercial space here in Manhattan, with, of course, a national presence, given that it was COVID, this Clubhouse app became available. And of course, I was the person that only had LinkedIn. So I had no Facebook, no Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, you name it, none. I was like a loyal of the LinkedIn world, extremely professional. Then I joined this Clubhouse app because someone in my ecosystem recommended it. Someone that I met on a Zoom networking event for my industry recommended it. And he goes, "Are you on Clubhouse?" And I'm like, I don't go to clubs. What are you talking about? He says, "Don't be silly. It's a social app." I'm like, oh my God, no. He looks at me and he says, "You need to sign up right now. There is a wait list, but we'll figure it out. We'll find someone who has an extra space so you can get in," because Clubhouse was on a wait list. I show up on Clubhouse and little by little, I open my Instagram account to get vetted and I have no idea what's going on. I have it play on the background and I'm doing my day-to-day chores. And as months go by, I get better at it. And everybody knew that's where I was to be found if someone would call me and I wasn't answering the phone, because I was always on Clubhouse while I was working. I would be at a lunch meeting and my phone is in my bag on Clubhouse. One day I realized that I am in this room and there's about 100 or 200 people, and all of a sudden it turned into a 2,000 people room in like 20 seconds. And I'm like, wait a second, why did the room grow up so quickly? Is there a glitch here? So I was like, And they're like, "Oh, Grant is here." I'm like, "Grant? Who's this guy, Grant?" And Grant starts speaking. I'm like, "Who's this guy?" They're like, "Grant." And I look it up. I'm like, "Grant Cardone. Never heard of that guy before." I'm like, "Who is this guy?" And as he's speaking, more people want to talk to him. He's like this sensation. I was like, let me Google this guy, Grant. I was like, are you kidding me right now? This is like someone who owns billions of dollars in real estate and he's hanging out on Clubhouse. Wow. I guess this is the place to be. And as Grant would show up in the spaces and promote the events and the books and speak, not even promote, that's the wrong word, pour into people, waking them up, letting them know that there is a way to create generational wealth, that you guys need to increase your income, that there is such thing as giving yourself permission to go big faster, that you can do it collectively. So all these teachings, and I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is extremely transparent and he's talking about his past and how he is the person he is because of those past experiences. So I connected with Grant on the transparency side, not so much on the multifamily side, because it was very foreign to me. And as we approach the end of 2021, he was organizing this event called Real Estate Summit in Fort Lauderdale. And all these clubhousers that are his friends were going to attend. And here I am thinking, maybe I should attend this event. I like what this guy Grant has to say. I don't know anything about this. I should attend to check this out. And of course, I go online, the tickets are sold out. I'm like, oh my God, what do I do now? Tickets are sold out. I'm going to have at least 30 people that I'm now friends with from Clubhouse attending this in Miami. These are multimillionaires, high net worth individuals, and yet they are showing up at a real estate event that Grant is organizing. what's my excuse? These are men and women who, in all honesty, don't even need to show up at an event because their businesses are good. They own houses, because I already knew their background. And I'm comparing myself, which people say don't compare yourself to others, but I am comparing myself as far as
We do it, yeah. We all do it all the time, yeah, absolutely.
But because I wanted to make it that my decision is based on what are the reasons for me to show up and what are the reasons for me not to show up, what I'm going to get out of it versus what I'm not going to get out of it. So I base that decision on the fact that a lot of people that are already very successful are going because they want to take themselves to the next level. Here I am, feeling very successful, but know nothing about the multifamily space. I already am friends with 5 or 6. Now it's the opportunity to meet them in real life and invest on a weekend of knowledge about something that I don't know, because I am a global focused connector. I've always been. I am a networker. In my world here in New York, I'm known as the mayor. That's one of my nicknames, because when people go to restaurants and when you have these big tables, everybody goes around the table, like 5 out of 10 are like, oh, I'm here because of Migena. Oh, I know this person because of Migena. I've always connected people. So it's not like that's the first time I attended a networking event, but that's the first time I attended a multifamily space event. Tickets are sold out. I'm out of options. And then I'm like, wait a second. I need to apply the Migena rule. If you know the source, you go directly to the source. So I go directly to Grant. I go on Clubhouse. There is a feature there where you can send a private message to every single member that you follow and follows you in return. And Grant followed me on Clubhouse, and I followed him back. I think I followed him first, and then he followed me. Let's get that straight. Not the other. Let's put that on the record. He did not follow me first. And even on Instagram, I followed him first, then he followed me, and then I shouted at him in Scottsdale, Arizona, Grant, thanks for following me on Instagram. And he's, let's go. And he likes my posts. And I get too excited about this. But I go to the source, send Grant a simple message. This is Migena. I would love to attend your event. I finally took off from work, got the approval, but your tickets are sold out. How can I buy a ticket? Where can I buy a ticket? Please. There's a wait list, but I would really love to buy a ticket. And the tickets were so much higher on the wait list. And I sent this message, send it, forget it, move on with my day. And of course, Grant responds. He responds. And that's the moment where I was like, now I have to show up. Grant Cardone says, sure, Migena, reach out to Annie. She'll sell you a ticket. She'll take care of you. I was like, are you kidding me right now? The message that Grant gave me that day, gifted me actually that day, is I talk the talk, I walk the walk. I am not rich enough, wealthy enough, busy enough, important enough not to pause and respond to someone that's reaching out to me, even if I am Grant Cardone. And when he responded to me, to this stranger, he doesn't know who I am, but the fact that I wanted to attend that event, that's what makes him the greatest salesperson, because there he is networking on Clubhouse and still responding to someone who wants to buy a ticket, because to him, it's not about selling one more ticket. It's beyond that, because what he created in a way, or what he amplified in a way, it's a Migena that now felt 100% responsible to show up at this event because Grant responded. And I did show up at the event. And my relationship with Grant has been a Clubhouse connection. And I tell him and I tell everybody I'm a Grant loyalist. I'm not a fan. And it's because he continues to show up as the true Grant with all of his imperfection. And I know that I am not perfect. But when someone extends you that virtual hand and makes it possible for you to see yourself as a different light, And that's what that summit did for me. I actually placed myself in a different light through the experiences of every single person that Grant attracted. And I was very curious and excited and actually looking forward to connect with his ecosystem, with the people he attracted, because I already had access to Grant through all social medias, YouTube. And many people would say, why do I even want to go to an event where I can learn about multifamily through a book, or as you said, through reading something? For me, the best way is create the experience, the in-person experience, and connect with others who have made, if not the same, more of an investment, more of a sacrifice to be at this event. So you are always guaranteed to be in a space with highly self-respected individuals. And that's why I am passionate about this. And that's why I continue to show up in awesome networking events, because of the people, not necessarily because of the leader that's on that stage.
Thank you so much for taking your time explaining us everything. It's very important to show and emphasize that real estate as it is, and we're talking about commercial real estate very quickly. We're going to get into that subject, but it's very important to realize that it's free and available everywhere for everybody. The way you approach it makes or breaks you. It makes a difference. You are, right, who you network with. And it's very important to know people. And the physical presence and being present at this events, man, it's out of this world. I do probably 10 events a year. I think I schedule them like one every month that I have. But I'm a people lover, and I go to real estate meetups, like at least, I think this week I'm going to have 5 or 6 of them. So at least every other day I'm hitting a meetup. Whatever town, whatever place I am, I'm going to a meetup. And I do meet people in person. And it comes to familiarity. Like they see me once, they see me twice, they start knowing me. We get to know each other. And then eventually down the road, we're going to establish a connection that we're going to do deals together. My first project was done like that with somebody that I was playing soccer for like almost 10 years. I knew there were contractors and stuff like that, but it took me so long to establish that personal connection. So yes, having these people in front of us, it's like having mentors. And having mentors is, I keep saying this and I'm going to repeat myself, taking the elevator instead of the stairs, right?
So true.
And I'm not even talking about motivational. So there are 2 aspects of development. And one is the personal development side, which is extremely important. Just like you said, you gave Migena permission. I'll tell you something, Migena, I really appreciate you. And you are not to be taken lightly. There are few people out there that find themselves at this stage in life when they've been working for a company for so long and they realize they can do a lot more. And it's like an awakening that I've been witnessing in the past, say 5 to 6 years. And it's the same time that I've been awake. In 2016, to me, was an event. My kids were born. My first daughter was born. And that was the first thing that triggered me into, I want to be the champion of my life, man. I want to be the champion of my life. I want to decide everything that I want to do every day, not just being on payroll. It's just, I was a worker for a very long time, 20 plus years, and I've always had a second thing that I was doing on the side for extra income. It was an Airbnb, it was a house flip, it was a side business, a 2-row, you name it, something that gave me extra income and made me feel a little bit in control. But what gave me freedom and financial freedom eventually was the connections that I had. So yes, I think you touched on to something very important. Grant Cardone, I'm going to say it, and I met him through different circumstances, not him personally directly, but I've interacted with his content over the years since about 2013, 14, 15. He was keep coming in my feed on YouTube because I was a land surveyor. So I was working with architects, planners, and people in the field. And he would come across and I'm like, who's this aggressive guy, man? He felt so aggressive towards me, not having the knowledge at the time. As soon as I start learning and understanding the ecosystem that they create, pretty much people, and I'm going to put it out there, millionaires, they have this aura around them, right? They are not just rich. They're rich in a way of giving back. They're rich to a different power. And this is what attracts me to Grant right now. He's filthy rich. He doesn't need to be on stage every day. He doesn't need to be on,
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. I am a Clubhouse, by the way, but I set up some alarms and I see him speaking. For some reason, I follow him. One of the first people that I start following. And I think right away I followed you. And these people in these live events, they created opportunities, like real opportunities for me. One of the last events that I was part of created this podcast. The event that I was in February with you, and the one that you sold me into it. I was debating if I should go on a live event with Grant, although I think I paid one for March, but I didn't have one for February. And you told me into the February one. I was like, no, you've never been to the business one. I'm like, no. He's like, why don't you show up on this one? I'm like, no, I don't have an excuse. Why don't I show up on this one?
Oh, wow.
So yes, I met some interesting people over there. And the first time when I met you in person, and it was a pleasure seeing you. And then I met so many people. Now, tell me, for somebody that is new, right, that is watching this podcast, there's a reason for it. They're watching this podcast because definitely they want more. Now, before we move forward and debate a little bit on how do you associate yourself with what syndications and what kind of deals and what kind of people, because we do it based on affinities and personal preferences, most than anything else. 100%. But how do you vet a good company or a good product or a good deal? Because these are things like, I know now, getting to the nitty gritty, you are a fundraiser as of today, and you are a syndicator. And the first time that you show up in the club, I know you raised a whole bunch of money, like something that I've never heard of. So you have the record, as far as I know, of how fast do you raise $3 million in a room full of millionaires?
Yeah, like in 20 minutes.
20 minutes. This is the personal record. Like, it took me, I don't know, 3 months maybe to raise 100,000. So it's just think about it, right? Tell me more about the syndication part. That you want to give them a shout out. What company are you working with? I am with Legends Equity Group. I'm going to take the lead. I'm with Legends Equity Group. Alex Lovely, he's one of my mentors. I decided to join this mentorship because I wanted to penetrate the space of commercial real estate. I keep single family home, and Grant, he has his ways, but the deals felt overwhelmingly big for me. So I'm looking at $30 million deal. I'm like, hold on, the biggest deal that I've done was, I don't know, 500,000, 300, 400. I'm like, I can't tackle a $10 million deal. And my mentality was completely wrong. I thought I have to put 30% down payment, my own cash, in order to get into a $10 million deal. I'm not there yet. I'm like, I can't do this, until Alex came in play and he told me, dude, there's a role that you're going to take in your syndication. You don't have to do everything by yourself. I'm like, God damn it.
And this is exactly why, to answer your awesome question, how do we vet who we need to surround ourselves with and learn from? It's exactly that. You gave your own answer. The people that show up in your life, either in a physical aspect or a virtual aspect, or through a book or through a podcast like you and I are on today, I vet people based on the level of generosity on their shares and the transparency. Because if you have that stingy mentality, that brings like stingy karma. And Alex, by the way, awesome guy. I actually met you when he was hosting one of the Zoom meetings. That's how you and I connected in Alex's room. He is a dear friend. He is a 10Xer. We are part of the same club at the Grand Cardone. And I love how we gave permission to ourselves to expand and have Grant as that connecting point. And then we can all go outside of that point and then go back there anytime we want to. So that's what Grant provides, a flexibility. And the way I vet, as I said, is how generous are you with your shares? Because you and I and Alex and so many people within our ecosystem have invested thousands and thousands of dollars, going to the six figures, to learn what we know today, to be connected to the people we get to call our friends and mentors, we get to say that we are stronger sources for others as a result of our own action taken and investment. So when I am in these spaces, Silvius, I tend to glue myself to the people that when we are at that dinner table and I ask a question, they pour and they pour some more and they pour some more. When I ask an uncomfortable question, they share exactly what happened. And if I ask how many times they failed forward, they say exactly and they remember in details and they share with us, the group, what not to do. And if you and Alex have connected and you partner with them and you raise for their deals, I know you do it because when you were thinking small, by no fault of your own, that in order for us to acquire $1 million home, we need to put down 200K. And in order for us to buy a $20 million building, we need to put down at least 3-4 million. There's no way in the world we can do that unless we win the lottery. And here comes this guy, Grant, this stranger, and he changes your life. Because when someone changes the way you think for the better, he's changing your life. But it doesn't stop there. He's changing your children's life and their children's life. And it goes on and on. If you know how to play and if you know how to apply yourself, your gifts into the new ecosystem that is already there, created, but you just didn't know it existed because you were thinking small. So you connected with Alex because he's telling you, this is how it's done. But the question is, how does Alex know that? He knows it because he invested to be on that seating, either from the Radcliffes or the Samrocks or the Michael Blunts or the Grant Cardones, you name it, Tony Robbins, whoever. I don't know who his mentors are. Robert Martinez, whoever, right? Silvius. But he invested to be in that space, to learn that information. Then he gifted it to you for free. He didn't say, Silvius, oh, there is a way to do it, but I want you to pay for my lunch. Let's get and have a coffee. And maybe I'll tell you a percentage. Let me use it as a hook. And then I'll tell you some more. He actually said, no, this is the way. And if you want to know more, this is where we hang out, either on a Zoom or an in person, whatever that may be. So the same thing with me. I raise for a specific group. Right now I'm raising and I'm with a massive capital. And I met one of the principals, Michael Bailey, at a Grant Cardone Real Estate Summit in 2021. He is in the club, just like I am in the club, independently investing to learn from the best of the best and connect with others. He created this massive capital company with some of his former colleagues or acquaintances. And because I know Mike, because I know his heart, I got to attend so many events with him and was interviewing him from afar without him even knowing, because as you and I both know, we all are being tested. We all are being interviewed on a constant basis. If you think that no one is watching you, think again. You are being watched because we have two eyes and we get to see as much as we get to see. But think about the 1,000 eyes that are looking our way. Think about that. That's 1,000x interviewed our way. So I decided to connect with Mike, and not that I don't connect with Alex because I like him any less, but in order for us to continue to be the best possible friends for Alex and Mike and Brad and so many others that we know, we need to set realistic expectations. And if we are here, we cannot be here. And if we're here, we cannot be here. And in order for me to give my word that I'm going to do the best I can to serve my friends and family and ecosystem and let them know that there is this opportunity for them to become investors. And Mike and his team has worked tirelessly to come up and have this beautiful deal under contract, and they're giving me the opportunity. Perfect. Now, if I divide Migena into 5 different capital raising, I'm not going to be able to give 100% by 5 times. And now I will lack here, and therefore I will lose Alex's respect, Mike's respect, Sylvia's respect, Brad's respect, so on and so forth. The point I'm trying to make is this. Just because we are raising for a particular group, it doesn't mean that we are not those same people that are going to help our other friends to raise for future deals. But currently, I am raising for massive capital. They're a fantastic group. They are ethical. They lead with transparency, integrity. And if we have people like them in our lives, Silvius, that give us the opportunity, gift us their trust. So pretty much they're trusting us with this amazing deal that's in existence. So we can then go and look like these superstars, angel investors, ambassador into our ecosystems and say, hey, these guys have been working for a year or for 60 years as a collective to be where they're at. Now it's your opportunity to come into the multifamily and have a soft entry. There is no more, I need 50 million down, 5 million down, 500,000 down. Guess what? You may not even need a penny down, as long as you open your eyes, your mind, your heart, and learn from people who are doing this and continue to do this. I choose my partners based on me interviewing them for a long time and based on how they treat others in my presence, and based on how transparent they are and how ethical they are. And if I am aligned with them heart to heart, I don't necessarily need to align with them mind to mind, because we all are in this game at a different level. So I could never compare my level of intelligence and knowledge to that of Mike and Sanjay and Shreya and Brad and everyone else that's part of that amazing group, and the ladies in the group. But when it comes to the heart, it's very important to do that measurement. So as a Migena, I am interested in the heart account. The rest.
I have a question for you, Migena, because you mentioned the heart. I see something right across your heart. You have a star. What is it? What does it represent?
So this is the logo for America's Real Deal, where I am an associate producer. This is an investment TV show that I'm a proud team member, and also I am the event host for the gala, for the premiere when we announce the winner for the season. That's what this is. This is the star of America's Real Deal. And I am super excited that I went from diner hostess to TV host, which is another dream of mine. And it's possible because I gave myself permission to go big faster, dust off the dust that my dreams were collecting, as I call it, in the shelf of dreams. And I said, all right, one dream at a time. You know what? Let's do 3 dreams at a time. Why not? And how about 5? So I went from working for a company to opening my own company to publishing now book number 4 as a collective. And this is my own creation. And it's a huge collaboration, to being on TV, to owning my own real estate passively and actively, to speaking on stages, to being a guest on podcasts, to you name it. And anyways.
That's so cool. That's one of the reasons why I have you here, because you emanate this positive energy all the time. Thank you again for coming in. Question that I have for you is, you mentioned that you don't really need to have the money to enter the space. So I'm a syndicator myself, and I know I could be talking about it, but I want you to talk us through the steps a little bit. What options do we have as beginners? Let's say if you just show up on the table right now and you want to start. I went to a meetup last night, and 2 new guys there, and they were talking about flipping a house, and then they were talking about syndication at the same time. I would invest in a multifamily. And my question was like, do you want to be a general partner, or you want to be a limited partner? And they didn't know how to answer that question. So that tells me exactly where they are in their journey. But I want to explain them that there are ways. Yes. There are definitely ways in. And please, can you touch base on them?
Of course. I will start by saying that if you're listening right now and you understand my accent, go to zerodownapartments.com. There is a free booklet there for you. There are 5 ways for you to learn how to get into the multifamily with zero of your own money. My partner Brett Pickett wrote that book, and you get to read actually the story of us being on a deal with Grant and raising $3 million in 20 minutes. So we actually were in a position where the capital raising found us. We didn't find it. I want to give that free resource for Silvius audience, absolutely. But I was at a wedding. Now that you mentioned these meetups, I was at a wedding in San Antonio 3 days ago. A friend of mine who I met at a Grant Cardone event a year and a half ago got married. She moved from California to San Antonio. And there I am sitting at this table with the best man and the bridesmaids and all these young people, pharmacists. And as we go around the table, because I love asking everyone to go around the table, share your name, what you're working on, what you do. I turn it into a full networking event. Never lose a moment.
An opportunity.
Maximize. And you want to know who the people at the table are. And I said, I'll start first. I'll break the ice. And then this particular guy goes, oh, I am actually investing $40,000 into landscaping. And I'm like, amazing. Are you buying a landscaping company?
You.
He looked at me. He's no, I'm investing. I'm spending $40,000 to fix a landscaping on my house. This is me. Stop. Please don't. I beg you. Now he's a stranger. He's what? He's like my kid and another on the way. What do you mean stop? I want to live nicely. I'm like, I beg you. You will thank me. Don't spend that money on a landscaping on your house. Give it to me. He's what? What do you mean give it to you? I'm like, they're going to give it to yourself, but through me. I'll be the gateway. He's telling me more. What is this? I go into this. Look, you already have this much. If you were to do this and this, you would actually get this cash flow and that cash flow. And I went into this journey with him. I said, but it gets even better. You don't have to do any of this because you have a network of people and you get to speak to them. And you know these brokers, and if they were to find you a deal, you're now in control of the deal. And when we structure these deals, because you found it, you can actually be part and own equity in that property without having any money of your own. But because you brought us the opportunity or the network to collectively come together and raise this money, we can buy a building together and you don't have to put any of your money. But I said, I never ever recommend that you do that. I recommend that if you have money, you always put your money first in every deal you raise for, because that's going to increase your chances of trust and raising more. Because I have friends that I approach, and every time I approach them, they're like, did you invest? Absolutely. And they're like, if you put 100K, I'll put $1 million. And I'll never forget that. So that was an amazing expression. So the way someone with no money down is go to the book source, zerodownapartments.com, get the free book. Another way is show up in webinars, show up in Zoom calls, show up on Clubhouse, on LinkedIn audios. If you see that you recognize Silvius and he's in real estate, chances are he's attending some event that he is learning something more. And you should also glue yourself to Silvius or Migena or whoever. Reach out, ask questions, because there are ways to own without your own money. But if that's your only goal, then don't even begin with that. You want to make it a goal to have your own money into these deals, that money works for you, so you can live passively a lot quicker than you otherwise would if you were to only be a GP with zero money of your own. So I never recommend you be one. I recommend you be all of it if you can.
Thank you. That was great. I just want to point out what a GP is, a general partner into a deal, right? That's the person usually that puts the deal together. And an LP, we're talking about a limited partner. That's the person that usually puts the money only, doesn't have any control of the deal. it just gets the dividends, monthly pay or 6 months, whatever the case by case deal is. And I want to put out in perspective, there are a few ways of entering the deal, just like you said. The ones I know and the way I know them about them is you can be a limited partner, right? Let's say you have sometimes even $25,000 makes the cut, to be honest,
A
especially
thousand
nowadays.
percent. And I
Yes.
call that a soft entry into multifamily.
I networked with somebody recently. I'm going to drop his name, Kenny G. So
Oh,
I called his company, and his company was like, "Have you invested with us before?" The minimum investment was 100,000 for the deal that I was looking into, and I said no, but I have somebody that is willing to expand his portfolio and wants to invest with you. I'm going to make a recommendation. And the question was like, "Do you have any soft entries for a new person?" And right away they dropped it to 50,000. I was like, wow, this was just a question, man. I wasn't even, the guy wanted to put 100. He wasn't even thinking of 50. But
Mm-hmm.
you got to ask the question. So one way, if you have the money, you enter as a limited partner. It could be as low as 25,000, 50,000, and 100,000. As far as I know, it could be somewhere in between two. We have a
Absolutely.
special way, by the way, that we enter a deal now. We're into a deal. I'm not going to mention the deal, but I'm just telling you what's possible. 10 of us, we're putting $10,000 each into a deal,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
into a group. We're just putting 100,000 on the one LLC, and it's already part of a syndication.
A
It's
thousand
just
percent.
that's how much it was needed, and that's it was a quick decision of how to include a lot more people to give the opportunity to a lot more members to be part of that deal. So that's another way of getting creative financing way.
A fund or a sub fund.
Yes, it's a sub fund into the big fund. But the most important ones, and I want to touch base right now, they're inside the deal. So the deal is split, let's say it's 70-30, 80-20, 60-40. A 70-30 deal, it's split. 70% goes to the investors, 30% goes to the general partner table. Now, that general partner table gets split in 100%. And that 30% that now represents 100% out of that 30%, it gets divided between different roles. And one of the roles is the deal sourcer, right? The guy that finds the deal, the one that you're just talking about. That guy gets a percentage, and it's fairly big usually for the person that finds the deal. And that's all you have to do. You just find the deal. There's another role in there called boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
If it happens that you live into the area where the deal is, there's always somebody needed from the part of the ownership. Like the syndication needs to have control on the deal, boots on the ground. Let's say there's an inspection coming in and they want representation from the ownership. If you're boots on the ground, 3 p.m., you have an appointment, you get nicely dressed and you go to the meeting, you get paid for that into the syndication, you get percentage for that. It's a little bit more complicated than that. You have to oversee a little bit of the maintenance, make sure that the grass is cut, the people are charging the money correctly, the property is maintained correctly. So you living in the proximity of a multifamily, that can make you money right there, just because you live there. But you got to associate yourself with the right people. So you have to go to these events to meet the people in your certain specific area, right? Another way is relationships with the investors, right? You need a team or a person at least that's going to keep track of the investors. The investors always want to get an update. Hey, what happened with the deal? Are we still on track? Are we still collecting? Are we raising months? Are we raising interest, not interest, rents this month? Or I drove by the property and I seen the gate is not working. What happens there? So always having questions. You can be the relationship manager there into that position and you get paid for it.
Or
And you don't pay
investor relations, not to cut you off.
investor. Yes, I didn't put it in the right words. That's investors
But
relationship.
when people hear manager, they automatically associated with you being a manager, like in a corporate world, and
Not a property manager. No,
and they're like, oh, that's not me. But an investor relations, because you maintain that relationship and the communication open for the duration of the investment.
Yeah, and the investments are 5 years spam. That's what 3 to 5 years advertising. This is what we put into the deals most of the times, 3 to 5 years investment. So they're fairly long investments, and expect that if I get $100,000 from you as an investor, I'm going to expect you to call me.
1,000%.
There is it's always a relationship that needs to be maintained throughout the next 5 years. So there's an expectation of having this long-term relationship. That's why it's good to create the relationship first. You want to make sure you get along with the person that you're going to get into a 5-year dance, right? You don't want to get in strangers they're going to bomb you with calls and they're going to kill your cell phone and ask you every week, what's up with my money? Did I
Where's
make
my money?
where's
Where's
my
the
money?
K1?
Yeah, where's my K1? Oh, I'm doing taxes this week. I'm like, okay, everybody does it at the same time. There are other roles, right, into these syndications that could be taken. They're valuable, like the fundraiser, right? The capital raiser. If you're a capital raiser and you're raising funds, you can get a percentage into the deal, but there's a big catch there, and I'm going to put it. You have to have an active role into the syndication. It's not just the fact that you fundraised and it's going to get you a general partner pool table there, a percentage.
Absolutely.
You have to be an active part of the deal, meaning you have a role, and the role actually has to be pre-assigned. So it's not, hey, if you fundraise 500,000, I'm going to get you 5% to this deal. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you have to be. A Security Exchange Commission is very strict on the rules. They're not very complicated. There are a lot of podcasts out there and people out there that are very straightforward. And all resources I found on Bigger Pockets, they have their own podcasts on. I think there are a lot of syndicators on that platform as well. And they're really good people. I started my real estate journey with them.
What is it called? Bigger Pockets.
Bigger Pockets, yes. It's one of the...
Right, it's important to vet, Silvius, to vet the people that you surround yourself with, because there is so much information out there that may not necessarily be all true. And this is why the power of your network is the power of your net worth. And they're not kidding when they're saying that, because you may, exactly to your example earlier, you may have someone hearing this and say, wait a second, so all I have to do is I'll go get some people who have some money, bring them to them, and I expect my percentage? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But you can be active and you can own a percentage of that property based on your level of participation for the duration of that deal. You have, exactly to what you said, you have to be active. And you and I are both new to the multifamily space, and we are speaking from our own experiences. And to give everyone a full disclaimer, do your own homework, trust and verify. Don't get our information and run with it in the sense where you follow it line by line as the Bible, because this is what our experience has been. You may attend an event and have very high expectations and be extremely disappointed because you hear Silvius and I fast forward, owning real estate, raising for capital. But if you see right now, Silvius and Migena, you actually are seeing just the tip of the iceberg. What we have done, how many places we have shown, how many Zooms we attend. And Silvius, you are a witness. We could be in a Zoom at 2 p.m. and you and I are on the same, not the same Zoom, but on that same day on a Zoom at 7 p.m. that lasts until 10, 11 p.m. where people are constantly asking questions and networking. So think about someone that's 20 years old and having a resume of 30 years. And then the question is, how is it that you're only 20 years old, but you have 30 years of experience? And then the answer is, I've worked on overtime. Because we're not the 9-to-5ers. We are Monday through Sunday, sunrise to sunset. And the fact that we have earned, not gifted, we have earned our place in these ecosystems, it's because we continue to show up, we continue to stay humble, we continue to make it about the other person, and we're not putting ourselves in a position where we are leading with ego and pride and arrogance and showing up as being more than what we actually are. With us is what you get. So again, please do your own homework, run your own due diligence, connect with people that you understand. And I'm speaking about the heart. I'm not speaking about the mind, because the lingo can be learned. But the way someone teaches you something, it's in the how they teach you that same something. That changes everything for you. So if you hear a passionate Migena, it's because I have opened my heart and my mind and my eyes to allow myself to absorb as much as I can. But then there is a step two, just like the bees go to work, that's what we do. Then we sort it. And then we say, okay, let's put this here, let's work with this here. It's hard work. And what Silvius and I are doing right now, I'm sure, Silvius, this is your, fifth Zoom for the day, because this is my seventh. And I'm on the East Coast and it's 6:25. And this is our everyday life. So it's not by a magic like spark that you went from 0 to owning 1,000 to knowing Grant Cardone and chilling with him on Clubhouse, and he gets to show up in the Clubhouse and says, hey buddy, I'm here because exactly what you're saying, I 100% confirm. And everybody goes, wait, was Grant Cardone just on the stage right now talking to Migena? Oh my God, did you ask him to come in this space? I'm like, no, I didn't. But he knows him. Yes, because I invest in Migena. I am constantly showing up, so the exact same person gets to know me a little bit more each time I show up. So if you, the listener here, is expecting to become an overnight success, I highly recommend you don't start to begin with, because there's no such thing as overnight success. We continue to show up, we continue to work hard, we continue to sacrifice, leave our families, go out there pretty much with their support, not see our parents or brothers or children, whoever has children, to be where we at, so we can earn the respect from the people that have been doing this a lot longer, so we can actually secure a voice in the room, a seat at the table. And it is hard work. You have to do the work. It's not, oh, I know Migena, I am in. I know Silvius, I am absolutely not. You're not in. And you're never in. And if you show up as if you are replaceable, you will be a lot more successful. You always have to work as if it's your first day in that ecosystem. And that's what I wanted to also share in relation to what we're speaking about, Silvius, because it's important for everyone to know that it is a botanical garden, but it took a while for the botanical garden to grow into that botanical.
A lot of weeds that need to be worked on, right?
A lot of weeds and planting and soil and everything else that goes into creating that beautiful space. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't start. You have to start. The best time is now. The best time is now.
The best time to, no, how is it? I was that saying with real estate? The best time to buy, no, the best thing to do is buy real estate and wait, not wait to buy real estate, right?
Exactly. You buy real estate
and wait.
You don't wait to buy real estate. And the best time to buy real estate is 5 years ago, and the next best time is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You already missed the 5 year, but the next best time is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not 5 minutes later. Because as I am in the capital raising, Silvius, I know that I'm not the only one that's raising for that specific deal. And I had the conversation even earlier today with a friend of mine who I met on Clubhouse, who has her own network, and she interviews people. And instead of having it on a Spotify podcast, we actually get to be on TV. And this is something you should also look into and take it national, of course, and global. If I am speaking with Silvius right now and I'm letting him know about this investment opportunity, it's not for Silvius to sleep on it, think about it 3 years from now, 6 months from now, 2 months from now, because we just started the race. We have to say, invest now, because while you and I are speaking, there's 5 other people who are raising for the same deal, and it's first come, first serve. It's a race. So again, don't wait to buy real estate. Buy and wait.
That's great. Migena, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for coming in. And you're probably going to be a recurring guest. because we have so many other topics that we didn't even touch today. This is just more like an introduction, so people know us, know what we're doing, and we're going to transition very slowly, explaining people what the real opportunities are. We're going to do a little bit of fundraising, even if it's not just for a deal. I just want to explain people how it works and just create a better awareness. I want to break pretty much and shatter the glass and the veil that is surrounding commercial real estate, because this is what Grant did for me. When I walked into the first event, he literally took me from, Silvius, how many units you want to buy? 30? Why not 800 this year? So I'm like, God damn it, why not? Why not? Why did Silvius set up 30 instead of 800? So that's the mentality. That's exactly what I want to pay forward. I want to do the same exact thing. And with your help, Migena, I think we broke some glass today. We have a lot more work to do.
Oh, for
But
sure.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great rest of the evening.
I appreciate it. All the best. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions, for sure, on all social medias.
How do we find Migena? That's another question. Where can we find you? We understand Clubhouse, but find you.
I am omnipresent. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Messenger, you name it. Now on Threads, Clubhouse, WhatsApps, if you have my number. But I respond to my messages. As long as you send me a DM letting me know that you heard and use the magic code word Silvius podcast, I know exactly what's needed from me for you, and I'll be ready to help you at any time. So thank you.
Thank you so much again. So what I'm going to end up doing, I'm going to put some in the description of the podcast. I'm going to get from you all these handles, and I'm going to attach them into the comments there section. So they're going to be readily available for anybody that wants to connect with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Again. Thank
you.
Thank
you. My regards to Nicole.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. I stopped the video, but I'm going to end the call. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really have a hard stop. Bye-bye.
You got it. Let's go. Bye-bye. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.